Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Phoenix and this is the Consumer's Guide to Filmmaking. Everyman Hybrid, 2010 to 2018, Vincent Caffarello, Evan Jennings, and Jeffrey Koval. This series follows three guys by the names of Vinny, Jeff, and Evan, starting a YouTube channel to teach people how to work out and eat healthy for cheap. Their first few videos feature one of their friends dressed as Slender Man as a visual gag. However, when someone else dressed as Slender Man breaks into Evan's house, these three begin to realize that they have a problem. No longer concerned with exercise videos, the gang must now find out what is going on with them before people get hurt. While my journey into the Slender Man series has not been fruitful thus far, I think this series actually surprised me a bunch. This was an incredibly flawed, yet creative piece of filmmaking. So yeah, this series is found footage, and it devolves into being a movie very quickly. But the excuses for its movie-like qualities come from both in-world answers as well as just how off-the-wall this crew's style is. To quote the great and powerful Jay Bowman,
"This is borderline experimental."
When we initially start, the series is this goofy set of exercise videos. The corny-ass fucking Sony Vegas Premiere Pro text effects, the greasy-ass fucking camera quality and audio quality. Mwah! Oh, it's just so funny. But once all the horror shit starts, that's when we get to see these guys shine as directors and editors. Footage of seemingly random and weird things, they serve some purpose though, will be spliced into conversations, and these images are super weird fucking David Lynch sort of shit. Camera quality will oscillate depending on the purpose of the scene. Also, a literal demon is filming stuff at some point, so if things are looking a little too movie-like, that's maybe why. The Slender Man effects are also some of the best that a Slender Man series have done, as there is all this fancy video corruption and seamless blurring that was honestly more impressive than the Tribe 12 stuff. That, or they just smash cut to black in the most jarring way possible. That also is very effective. The audio also plays a major role in the experimental nature of this series. One of my favorite things in this series is how the audio will just bug out completely. Portions of videos will be in complete silence for just awkward amounts of time, and it created such an unnerving sort of atmosphere. Along with the usual Slender Man ear rape bullshit, it is just solid horror movie sort of stuff. Unlike the other Slender Man series though, this series has a soundtrack. Well, that is a tad too much for found footage. It doesn't become a chore to listen to because these guys have some decent taste in music. The habit sequences often involve big band music, and while the lyrics for those songs were a tad on the nose, it fit the tone of the series really well. There's also a bunch of alt-rock and indie rock that you would expect a bunch of 30-year-old late-era Gen Xers to be listening to. The series, though, ends on Johnny Cash's version of We'll Meet Again, which was honestly a fun way to end the series. Also, I should have maybe mentioned this when I reviewed it, but this series has one of the best uses of Monster Magnet I've ever heard. It uses the song Baby Gotterdammerung. I hope I pronounced that right, but it's one of my favorite songs, and the way they use it to introduce Habit is fucking awesome. Yeah. Anyways, continue. Another thing that was impressive to me was what these guys were able to do with special effects on a ham sandwich budget. Let's just get out of the way now. This Slender Man, I think, sits somewhere in between Tribe 12 and Marble Hornets. It's clearly a dude in a suit for most of it, and anything that required anything more than that was cut around, I think, well enough. It's better than whatever the dudes from Marble Hornets were doing, but it's not as ambitious or as impressive as what Adam Rosner was doing with Tribe 12. Also, these guys introduced the Rake, whatever this thing is, into the series, and what we saw of that creature was decently presented. They hid any imperfections with the effects really well in that regard. But it's the gore effects that really impressed me. The gashes that Evan had from fighting the rake looked super realistic and impressive. And all the habit stuff looked great as well, especially so when he was just beating on Jeff. Just fun stuff. The writing, I think, is good in the way that it balances tone. The beginning videos with all the exercise stuff are really funny in terms of presentation and dorkiness, but you can always tell that something is off with them. Whether it be a weird edit or the way Evan is acting, you always get the vibe that something wrong is going on here. Even when we get full on into the horror stuff, these guys still manage to find some way to inject natural humor into the series. The cast, I think, are a big reason for this, as they all have such a natural chemistry. Vinny, Evan, and Jeff are all real-life bros, so they didn't need to do much besides be themselves. Even when the big emotions hit, they are selling it naturally and in an interesting manner. Evan's performance, though, is a highlight because he is the one possessed by the evil habit demon thing. When he goes fucking full gangweed society time, he's clearly having a ball. Channeling his inner society clown. Fuck. His interactions with Vin, especially near the end, are really entertaining. These scenes combine both horror and comedy really well. But like Tribe 12, the series becomes kind of full of itself near the end. It starts out with a simple enough premise that is easy to grasp and is told clearly enough despite these guys' penchant for experimentation. But once we hit the third act of the story, or even the second, this shit becomes so convoluted, it's fucking astounding. It's pretty much absolute gobbledygook, just complete fucking gibberish by the final few videos. From what I can gather, it seems to deal with the whole time loop thing that Tribe 12 was dealing with. This, of course, is fine, and Habit had a role in that series, so it makes sense it would come into play here. Vin, Evan, and Jeff are all sort of having to repeat this cycle in order to keep Slundy and his crew at bay. Neat. I also dug the plot twist that Vinny was the one who orchestrated some of their suffering. That's a fun little wrinkle to that character. These are neat enough ideas, but the series does such a piss-poor job of explaining any of it or pulling it together in a coherent manner in the home stretch. Good setup, but beyond confusing and muddled payoff. Overall, this was another fun trip down memory lane. In fact, I would say that, so far, this series is the one that has aged kind of gracefully. Kind of. Viewing Everyman Hybrid without the rose-colored glasses of nostalgia, and the eyes of someone who has reviewed and watched more movies than most, I respect this crew's goal of creating something unique. Incorporating many experimental elements to the story's presentation and knowing how to work with limited resources, these guys' ambition and talent is readily apparent throughout the series, but they just couldn't reel themselves back and ended up making pretentious nonsense at the end. Still, I was happy to revisit it, and I think these guys deserve some more opportunities in filmmaking to let that talent shine. If you're on a Slenderman kick like I was, keep an eye out for this series, as it may really impress you despite it confusing you. And I am feeling a 5.5 out of 10 on this one. It may be a little generous, but I respect the ambition. Catch you later, guys.